Hey, everybody. For you today, I'm Bill Scavone. I'm your moderator today for an awesome panel that I got to tell you, I'm really excited about the small to mid-sized broker advantage. The reason I'm so excited, I've been in the business here with Weichert Real Estate Affiliates for over 20 years. And I've had a front row seat working with small and mid-sized brokerages, understanding their challenges, their strengths, what they want, what they're up against every single day. And I always look at that small to mid-sized brokerage is what I call the solid middle. So we have the boutique firms on one end, and we have the big brands on the other end, and we fall right there in that middle. I really like this because I also have the benefit from seeing it from the perspective of one of the largest family-run independent companies in the country, Weichert Realtors. So I kind of have the best of both worlds here. And I can tell you that this conversation that we're going to have today is not one talking about disadvantages, but really it's an advantage conversation because there's so many advantages out there. We're going to be talking today a lot about recruiting, retention, productivity, profitability. And the question isn't, can you compete? The question is, are we leveraging what makes us different enough to win? You know, the agility that we have, the culture, the local expertise, smart technology, leadership skills, all this comes together. And I'm just really excited because we have a real diverse panel here today. I'd like to kick it off and introduce our panel for the webinar today. First, I'd like to introduce David Camp from IntelliAgent, our sponsor. So, David, why don't you introduce yourself?
Bill, pleasure. Thank you. So, fundamentally, I think from a technology perspective, how we will lean in and add value today is this. The fundamental thought that I want to lay out there when it comes to IntelliAgent is more leads don't really fix broken systems. Better systems ultimately will fix everything. And so there's a lot of noise. There's a lot of distractions. And right now it's a time where we need clarity and focus. So the benefit that we bring to this marketplace is how do we help you build better systems?
That's awesome. Thank you. You know, I always say systems stand for save yourself time, energy, money, and stress. So that's going to be a great bill.
That's exactly right. Love that. Love that.
All right, great. Next up is an operator extraordinaire from El Paso, Maricela Harper. Go ahead, introduce yourself, Maricela.
I'm Maricela Harper with Clearview Realty. And Bill, I thought you were introducing me. I'm not prepared with a script to introduce myself. There's not a whole lot. We're local. I run the brokerage together with my husband, Russell Harper. We have a team of about 230 agents right now, and we do this every day here locally.
So you're going to give great operator perspective in these questions that we're going to be going through today. I can't wait to hear all those.
That's my hope.
Awesome. You will. You got it. All right, next up, and really happy because I was watching some of Steve's videos earlier on some of the training and things that he puts out there. So we got Steve D. Aviaga. How'd I do, Steve?
Bill, best ever first time intro of all time. By far. David Camp, first 10 times introduced. We didn't get that close, so well done. Thank you, Bill. I'm our CEO and founder of the revenue firm. We are blessed to have been in this space 26 years. We have 9,400 realtors that consume our distressed seller leads, which are the fastest growing niche in real estate today. We have 41 different title partners, 50 lending institutions, and we're partnered with 10 of the largest technology AI-focused entities in America. And I will say this as we talk, I love this subject, Bill, because what's really happened with broker space is it's almost molded. You've got Jason Mitchell Group, which is one of our largest partners in the United States. He was just voted the #1 team in RealTrends with 1,200 agents. So teams are now seeping into this mid-tier small broker space. And as a broker owner, you have to ask yourself, we have this a lot where we have price and then cost. There's a price to being lead focused, training focused, AI focused, and leading that. And then there's a cost to not doing it. And I will assure you, you're going to see consolidation like we're seeing today all over the United States. The ones that have invested in the price will then not have to pay the cost of not doing it. So this is important for all of us listening. It's going to matter the next 6, 12, 18 months.
Awesome. hey, this panel is going to be awesome. So everyone stay on and listen through this whole thing that we're going to have going on. I'd like to throw this back to David right now to introduce, because you're our sponsor of this webinar, the IntelliAgent system.
Yeah. So when it comes to IntelliAgent, look, I've been in the business since the late 90s, very focused on the lead technology and conversion side. And I've seen repeatedly our brokerage partners overspend on technology that ultimately the agents are not able to effectively use. And so at IntelliAgent, what we're focused on today is really, number one, how do we help you? I mentioned this at the beginning. How do we help you build better systems? And that is the focus. And those systems are ultimately they're going to empower you to do three things: drive conversion, but ultimately create engagement and operate more effectively, so that at the end of the day, you're lowering your cost per closing, you're increasing your agent productivity, right? There's focus on a lot of things, but agent productivity is core. It is critical. And then how do you improve conversion, not just from an online lead? How can you leverage data, that some data that you already have, and how can you put yourself in a position to build a pipeline, not just be a lead buyer, but how do you build a business around systems that enable you to create pipeline that is predictable and scalable? That's IntelliAgent. That's what we're doing today. We're not trying to drive another piece of technology into brokerages that will not be used. It's how do we cost effectively help you build systems that will change your business dynamics.
Bill, real quick, if I could jump in on this one
please,
thing.
Steve.
David does such a great job of this, because no broker listening, none of you need more tech that your agents don't use. The road is littered with that. What David's done such a good job of is making it part of the integrated process, so the agent actually just is using it almost not even knowing that they are, because it's so easily done. You have to make tech easy. Our realtors are never going to be technicians. They're great realtors because they're people. So David, congrats on what you built. It's fun.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm going to jump ahead for a second, David, on a question I was going to ask a little bit later in the panel. But, and you're dead on, Steve, is most brokerages, to me, don't have a tech problem. They have an adoption problem, an execution problem.
Right.
So how do you actually get agents to use the services we provide out there? And we're going to go each one of you. David, I'm going to hit you, then we'll hit Maricela, then Steve.
Yeah, so really, I don't focus on getting agents to use elements of the technology. I don't focus on that. It is, what is the process for the brokerage that's going to drive the highest level of conversion and lower your cost per transaction? The agent is a part of the assembly.
Uh-oh.
Thank you for.
There we go. You froze a little bit, David. So go ahead.
Did I? Okay. All right. So kind of backing up for just a moment, the issue is not getting agents to use the technology. It's where do we insert the agent into the process? So when we step into an opportunity with a brokerage, we're looking at what systems do you have in place? What's your cost per transaction? How do we lower that cost per transaction, move you to profitability? But where should the agent be inserted in that process to drive the highest level of production for the brokerage and for the agent? And Steve mentioned this earlier. What we do know is everything that we're trying to do today is keep the agent in a relational part of the process, asking them to manage data, asking them to simply keep up with contact information. It's not going to happen. Absolutely not going to happen. So build the process. Then where do we insert the agent relationally that benefits the broker, specific to the broker's objectives, specific to the market of the moment? That's really how we approach it. Versus, am I going to get an agent to use a CRM? I can give you the answer. No. It's not going to happen. But how do I insert them in the process?
Gotcha. So here, this is interesting because over the last several months, I keep reading about the big brands, and a lot of them are positioning themselves. And I was just asked recently by somebody, what about, I'm not going to name their name, this company who's tech forward, tech enabled. And I sit there and I'm kind of like, pretty much every brokerage is tech forward. We all have the technology. So I'm throwing this to you, Marisol, because I know you have technology. How do you handle that when you hear that from the big brands saying and you have the same tools or maybe better tools? How do you handle that?
We just keep it really simple. Truly, we don't give them anything that they don't need because they're all on so many different levels. And so we give them the basic stuff and we train to it. So they've got, back office, they've got forms, they've got a CRM, they've got all just the necessary things. And then the agents that are just really fast forward, they come to us and they say, I really want to try this. And then we implement it for the smaller group. So really and truly, we don't make it complicated. There was a time when we had, I want to say maybe 5 years ago, we had done a demo with a system, and I won't say their name, but we did like all the training, and we thought the system was so amazing. It was an all-in-one at the time, and no one really had an all-in-one like this system. So we pulled the trigger, we transitioned the whole brokerage to it, we started training around it with all the agents. And there were so many like bugs in the system. The agents hated it. We had to cancel and go back to just normal stuff. And it was like the worst experience, a good lesson. So moving forward, we've just been really like gun shy. We, aren't going to transition or use anything that isn't tried and true. And really and truly, it's just keeping it simple. Yeah.
Right. Well, that's smart and simple, is the way to go with everything. I think pretty much human beings are pretty much simple in the way they think. They want something that's easy to use, something that benefits them. To David's point, saving money as well, lowering the cost of transaction for the broker. Steve, what's your thoughts on this?
Here's the reality. Define a good lead and a bad lead. And I've had all of you and everybody in the audience, you'd all have different rules. It's not a bad lead because the consumer is in discovery and search. And when they're in discovery and search, they're 6, 8, 10, 12 months out. See, we as agents ignore the consumer when they're in discovery and search. And then when they're in transaction and purchase in a 30 to 60 day model, they ignore us. So technology, to David, every agent I have, if I say to you, I have a buyer who's going to buy a house in the next 2 to 4 weeks, every agent I work with is very good. If I say, hey, I have a consumer who's going to start looking, they're 12 to 15 months out, but they will buy a house in 12 to 15 months. Most of my agents are terrible. Tech, AI, and the broker has to own the agent from search and the consumer from search and discovery all the way through the process. And then when they say, now I'm ready to purchase and apply and go view properties and adopt, I'm 30 to 60 days out. Now you got to get that to the agent, packaged with all the data around it, AI over the top, CRM and communication, because I'll argue with Maricela here. Every agent I work with, I can get to adopt tech because I put the lead there first and say, if you want this lead, you have to be able to go through these 3 very basic things. My mother's 84 years old. You know her favorite place to go? Home Depot. You know why? The buttons are big. They're very easy to read. You push a button. She likes I like Southwest too because I can check in myself in. She loves all this. Make it easy. And when I put a lead out there, my agents go, what do I got to do? Yeah, you got to log into CRM. Before you get that lead, you have to acknowledge you've read the notes, you know their search criteria, you know what kids they have, you know how long they've been looking, you know their amount. Now I'll give you that lead and then you can go transact because they're 30, 60 days out. So the brokerages and the teams that have figured this out have they convert much better with the same leads that people say, oh, this is a bad lead. Nothing to do with it. It's what the AI and tech does to get to the agent at the right time, to David's point.
Bill, I want to add something that is, not even anecdotal, but a reality. We have a current client, my home group out of Arizona, that's on the platform. They've been on the platform now for 2 years. And the one thing that was very evident up front, they did not need more features, functionality for the agent. Plenty of that. What they did not have was system and process that resulted in, to Steve's point, more transaction. And if you have transactional influence, the agent will insert themselves wherever you need them to do in the process.
Correct.
And I want to give you kind of they went from, my home group went from losing money to having 150% increase in profitability and continuing to grow today. That did not happen because we gave them a better CRM. In fact, I would argue that the CRM was less than what they had, but what we gave them was definitive system and process that lowered the cost per transaction and increased conversion, and it impacted profitability. That's the focus. It's not another widget or another tool.
Yeah, I totally agree. You know, I was at a conference and the speaker said, you know, what CRM should I go with? And they said, the one you're going to use. And no, it really is that simple, right?
The one that you're going to get the leads from.
Yeah.
You have leads, you have interest. If you have interest, you have the ability to learn. Without leads, no agent wakes up and goes, I hope my broker gets new tech for me to learn. I'm excited to learn. No one's ever said that once.
Right.
No, but if you'd like these qualified seller leads, the only way to get them is to go through this process. And trust me, there's enough that will.
You know, everything's about a process. Everything we do now, we're talking tech now, but there's even a process to open houses. There's a process to farming, right? If you follow the process and you do it consistently, you're going to win. It's that simple, I believe. So let's step back a little bit. With all the consolidation, the lawsuits out there, I call it noise, clickbait in the industry. You know, there's headlines constantly coming at us. What are brokers and agents right now feeling, Maricela, in your market? Like, what's the vibe?
I think they're really feeling pressure. You know, after the commission lawsuits, they know and understand that things may never be the same, and they're having to adapt to all the industry changes. They're having to like learn new forms. They're having to just pivot and adjust and do more, faster, better. And I think that's really creating some pressure. You know, there's transitioning from chat to Claude this week at our brokerage, and it's just like, what do we need to do to make sure that we stay relevant and that we're not replaced? So it's pressure.
Yeah. So do you think they're more confused about things? Are they cautious? Do you how many of them are really sitting there saying, here's opportunity?
I think the majority of our agents are seeing that there's opportunity. Absolutely. Yeah.
Good. David, what have you seen in your travels?
Well, what I think to add value here is I'll point out where I think there's a perceived problem that's actually a great opportunity. One of the biggest frustrations is around first-time homebuyers, and we know that year over year there's a 21% decline in first-time homebuyers, and so that's a pretty significant segment of the market, right? But the issue has been the inability to lean into the hard, right? That client is harder to pull through the process. And so what I would say is I agree with Maricela in that there's some uncertainty. In uncertainty, what do you tend to do? You tend to chase too many things. And so one of the challenges I would lay on the table is in the midst of this uncertainty, there's a problem. How do we deal with first-time homebuyers? But if you focus on first-time homebuyers, you have the opportunity to actually be a solutions provider. An example of that would be Start Real Estate is a current client. Their focus is virtually 100% first-time homebuyers. And they're growing their business, but even more importantly, they're advancing other areas of revenue in their business where they have a 70% attach rate of mortgage by building a process around first-time homebuyers. So yes, there's uncertainty, there are problems, but if you lean into those problems, there's opportunity, great opportunity there, and that's a specific. So that's that's what we're seeing today. Those problems exist, and you lean into those problems. There's great opportunity, I think, that will drive. Especially, you mentioned this, Bill, at the beginning. Being a small to mid-sized broker, you've got a distinct advantage. Not an aircraft carrier that has to turn. You are nimble and you can lean in and solve these problems.
That's right. Steve, your take.
Well, for two things. Firstly, let's talk about the agent piece. Do you guys know what's happened since the commission came out? Agent commissions go up or down the last 17 months?
Right.
They went up. I think it's one of the best things that ever happened. What industry would you get paid the same no matter what your skill set, your experience, or your ability? Previously, if you opened the right door and you knew nothing about the area, knew nothing about price per square foot, it was your 4th week in real estate, you got paid that percent regardless. Now, our real estate practitioners are becoming much better salespeople, and they're explaining the process of what they do, how they do it. So let's start there. Number one, it's creating a better sales organization. My teams, we work with 156 of the top 207 teams for realtors in America. All of them are up in commission. All of them. Okay? So, also, if you saw what happened this morning, RE/MAX and Real Broker just tentatively merged with an $880 million deal. We're going to see more and more consolidation, which actually creates a ton of opportunity for the people listening on this call in the small and mid-tier brokerage. Because when you have people coming in, not everybody wants to play in that big ship. They're looking for culture, leads, tech, coaching, something else. So you should be loudly talking to these groups who come in a honeymoon limerence period of, oh my gosh, we're going to get together. We're going to be so happy. And in 6 months, they go, I don't like any of this. I'm looking to go back to that culture that I had. This is a small and mid-tier broker's dream if you're paying attention.
Yeah,
that's right. Bigger isn't always better. And, I talk to a lot of people. When you look at a lot of these bigger companies, if you look at their debt load that many of them have, it's really incredible. And that's why I look at small mid-size brokers, and that agility and the local leadership really is incredible. I see it all over the country when I'm traveling and I'm meeting with all these folks. It always comes down to the leader. If you're a strong leader and you have energy, you have enthusiasm, you have that passion, you're going to win every single time, And I think you hit the nail on the head, Steve, because every single time, you're right. 4, 5, 6 months, honeymoon's over, bingo, let's go, right? And what do the people look for? So
speed of the leader is the speed of the pack always. And Bill,
absolutely.
That's why people like Weicker, people like Weicker win because of that. Because your owners are still fast, running, engaged. Some other people are not. They're worried about debt and stock prices. You guys are worried about, how do I help my agent? I'm going to get my agent 2 more deals a year. That's the mindset.
So right. So let's get to real specific here. Maricela, I'm going to start with you. Where do small and mid-sized brokerages, you have a good-sized brokerage that you've built, you've done a great job. Right now, what's the advantage you have that you feel the big brands can't compete with, can't replicate?
We're really close to the agents. We're really close to the deal and the transaction. When something goes wrong, we're able to step in and fix it. Russell and I made a commitment to be in this office every day from Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. And so that they know, like they're walking by right now because I'm at the office, but they know that like it's an open door, and I'm super approachable. I'm very warm. Like I see them and they know that I'm happy to see them. So they feel that they can come to me with issues and that I'm going to help them. So yeah, that's been an advantage having a smaller brokerage. I know their names. I know who they are. I know their stories.
Now, so David and Steve, I'm going to say this because you've worked with all size companies over your careers. What do you say is probably the greatest advantage that big brands can't replicate for that mid-sized, smaller broker, and even the boutiques? They're very specialized. Go ahead.
You want to go first?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, I'll jump in. I will say this: what my small and mid-tier groups have been able to do, to Maricela's point about relational, real estate works this way. The herd of agents follows the influence. So they can go to their top 3 or 5 agents and go, hey, I'm going to do this new lead program. I'd like you to be involved. I'm going to do this new coaching and training program. I want you involved. And they make them part of the authorship. There's a little saying, Gary Keller says, it's brilliant. No authorship, no ownership. So my small and mid tiers, their best coaches, their highest adopter of tech, their biggest lead consumers are their best agents. So when somebody down the food train who's doing their 6th deal of their life goes, well, I don't really want to do this. You go, it's funny because Maricela, who's done 180 deals this year, she says it's one of her best sources. All of a sudden, there's a paradigm shift with that agent. So you have to get your best agents to be your best consumers of your products that you have, whether it be coaching, leads, etc. If your best agents are doing that, the herd follows the influence.
Right on with that. David, what do you think?
Well, I would say as a small and mid-sized broker, the ability for you, again, we go back to this term agility, but what I want to say here is that there are markets of the moment, and we're in an environment today where those markets of the moment are shifting. And your ability to be able to respond as a mid to small size brokerage is you're much more in a position to respond quickly and take advantage of those opportunities, because we all know that when you're in a larger corporate environment, your inability is to respond in a way that affects your quote revenue source, right? You don't want to disrupt that. You've got all of these different factors. What group are you going to alienate? And so you don't always respond because there's more complicated people involved in the process and groups in the process. Small to mid-sized broker, you can see a trend and move toward that trend. And I firmly believe that as a small to mid-sized broker, if you will take a look at your data and you'll look at what those trends are, you can get ahead of those trends, and you can take advantage of those trends far more effectively than a larger entity can do, right? Because there's too many things that they can disrupt by moving to the market of the moment.
David, Bill, you guys both know this. The big public companies, they try out every 3 months. They have to go on a quarterly call, get yelled at about earn. So they have to make decisions 3-month based. Our small and mid-tier brokers can take a 2, 3, 5-year view and then move their brokerage towards it. You can't do that in a public company. You can't say for the next 5 quarters, we're going to lose money while we implement culture, tech, and training. No one buys that at corporate level, but you can do that at a small to mid-tier and really put yourself in a great spot.
Well, every morning, Maricela, you look in the mirror and you see the CEO. Well, you're it. There's no one else. But that is so true. That's what I love about my job is I deal with small business owners, and you can get an answer right away. They can make decisions right away. They listen, I find, probably more. And their decisions that I find are really based on the best for their office, not this spreadsheet, not managing a financial spreadsheet. So Maricela, can I put you on the spot?
Of course.
So we're talking about differentiation. We talked a little bit about the culture and the service level you do and what makes you different. Can you give the audience a real example of where your size and your ownership and running the company the way you run it helped you win a deal or recruit an agent in or that whole thing, like the whole value proposition?
Yeah, we're super involved. We are a faith brokerage because everyone needs a little Jesus, right? Funny, the agents just gave me
I
this.
got one in my backpack.
Yeah. And, this industry has a lot of ego. And so when agents come in here, we let them know that we're a faith brokerage. We pray at every single one of our meetings. They know that we ask them to leave their ego at the door because the industry has a lot of ego. So we train to not work with ego. We train them to be humble. We train them to really kind of use a reverse psychology type. Like if the agent's being really ugly or terrible on the other end, you're just going to ignore it and keep the goal in mind. And that goal is just to how to better serve the client at the end of the day. And we work to really understand the agent and understand where they're at and what's going on in their personal lives, because a lot of the time we don't know how to help them if we don't know what's going on in the background. Do they have a sick father at home that they're taking care of? All of those things play a part in how they show up for their business. And so we're super intentional on how we lead, how we train, how we serve them, and how we love them. And they know that, we're here and we're going to have their back whenever stuff hits the fan, in a nice way to say it. And that has really created this like environment and culture that agents go and talk to each other about, because they know that we're real. You know, we're not just like someone that's just looking out for how many transactions can you produce. It's more about, we care about you as a human being, and we're here to support you and help you. And I think
Yeah,
that's
I mean, that is the differentiation. I think the difference between the mid-sized broker, small broker, you know, the teams out there, that's the attraction that they have, right? It's not recruiting, you're attracting people to your brokerage. And I think that's awesome, because listen, you got over 200 agents, you must be doing something right with that attraction model that you have. So let's move on to recruiting, because Steve, we talked about this when we were doing our prepping. And you know, it's a lifeblood of our industry, of an office, of a team, is recruiting. And with all the different models out there, and I have a whole different take. Everyone says there's different models. There's really, to me, just different kind of financial models. But the models are running a real estate business, and pretty much all the models are running a real estate business, I would think. What are agents really choosing today? Is it split? Is it the support? Is it simplicity? Is it culture? What are they looking for? What are they choosing that you see?
First of all, I just want to say, if I was being recruited by Maricela, I am 100% all in. I am your boy. I'm coming. Just so you know, Maricela, if I'm up that you're right, I'm coming. El Paso, I'm your. But so I think people underestimate this. Being likable matters. We're in the most relational space in the world in real estate. So all this tech, AI, CRMs, leads, likability is a skill, whether it's your recruiter, the gal that answers your phone, your broker, your team leader, doesn't matter. Likability matters. So when you're recruiting, make sure you're likable. Secondly, so many people, I have one rule whenever we try to generate business with people, I say, never ask a question your relationship does not yet justify. So I always say, first conversation you have with anything we do, never ever sell. Your only goal as a first conversation is to build enough rapport so you can earn a second conversation. That's right. That's it. And then once you get a second conversation, now you're going to start talking about what I call EOSs, evidence of success. Hey, Maricela, here are a couple agents we had. You just got your license 2 years ago. We've had 4 folks who came to us at their 2-year level, who are now in their 6th, 8th, and 10th year, who are all doing over $55 million through our infrastructure partnership program, our culture. I'd like you to talk to them first. Don't talk to me. I want you to come. I'm going to be biased. I want you here. Talk to them, who only will tell you exactly what works and what didn't. Now I'm creating what? By showing an EOS. I'm creating trust. And eventually, if I'm going to get Maricela to come work with me, I have to show trust. So for me, the process of recruiting, be likable. Have a first conversation that earns a second conversation. Stop asking questions your relationship does not yet justify. Then when it comes down to all those things, to your point, Bill, they'll say, okay, what's your model? And I always go, well, let me ask you something. What do you want to make this year? And your number is the same. Every agent went to the same school. What do they say, David? What do you want to make? What's every agent say no matter what? I want to make $100,000.
Yep.
That's their number. I want to make 100 grand. Great. So our split's 99 to me, 1% to you. But if you follow our process, I'll guarantee you make 100 grand, or I'll pay you the difference. And they look at you kind of weird. And you go, don't worry, our split's better than that. But our agents that come to our program and follow our process, you will get this many closings based on our lead program. You'll go through our coaching program and increase here. Our database and CRM will get you referrals with the network that we have. You're going to generate this, but that's what, now you take that out of their hands, right? You don't want to get it. Everybody's got a cheaper model than you. I always say there's the pay little, get little model, and there's the take a lot, pretend to give a lot model. Somewhere in the middle is the answer, and every agent's a little bit different. I like to know first, if I'm in rapport, I can have a real conversation. Is this really important to you? And if it is, we can talk about it. But if I can help you make more money, is that important to you? I always say poor people talk about splits, wealthy people talk about net. What do you want to net in this business?
Right. Do you pay your bills with a split or with money? Right.
Correct.
And that's an important one. David, how about you? What have you been hearing out there, seeing out there in your conversations?
Well, to piggyback off of Steve and Maricela, what I would add to this conversation is having transactional influence is a key attraction. And that doesn't always mean going and buying the largest amount of lead volume. It's being creative in how you actually identify resources that deliver transactional influence. So, for example, are there mortgage networks that you can be a part of that will do referrals, and you have agents with solid systems that will actually follow through, that will actually maintain attachment? So what I would challenge amid the small size broker on, as it relates to recruiting, yeah, you've got to lock in all of those relational components, but from a resource perspective, I believe the most effective thing that you can do is demonstrate your ability to create transactional influence, because it will drive further conversations, and it will indeed be an attraction to your brokerage. There's not enough time spent on what I would refer to as business development that's going to yield more opportunity, quality opportunity for my agents. Most brokerages are running to go do a lead buy to do what everybody else is doing, and they're not effectively looking at it and going, how am I going to do business development that benefits my agents as a whole?
Right. Exactly. Maricela, talking about leads. How many different ways in your company you see your associates generating leads, and what's the most common or most popular lead gen technique?
So our number one agent is a 22-year-old at our brokerage, and his number one lead source, believe it or not, is social media. Like, he knocks it out of the ballpark on YouTube and social media, and I have never seen anything like it. Like, it's incredible. So that is from him one of the biggest ones. I've seen some more experienced agents really lean into their sphere as being their number one lead source. And then we've got some big teams at our brokerage too that, do a lot of the paid leads. So it's all across the board. We still really train and teach to the basic stuff, because if you don't know how to fish, if all of the lead sources went away today, like, you still have to be able to build the relationship and lean on like your people and knowing how to work with others. So there's so many different ways, but I'd say primarily right now what the agents are working on a lot is their social platforms.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah, I think there's never been a time probably in history that we have so many different ways to generate contacts. Now,
Right.
Steve, this is kind of up your alley here, with your coaching that you do. What do you think? What's out there?
Well, first, you said something brilliant at the beginning. I want to make sure people caught it. If I pinned a piece of paper on a donkey that said, "Follow me to list your home," and walked it around enough places, somebody would follow me home and go, "Oh, I'll list my house." Doesn't mean it was a good idea. Everything that Maricela's person that's really good at social media, every lead source you have, put a campaign around it. My guess is he has some guidelines, like, I'm going to post 4 times a day. I'm going to like over 100 likes. I'm going to make 55 comments. I'm going to share at least 6 reels. I'm going to like 6 other people's reels. I'm going to collaborate with one of my top producers. So there's a process that every day this happens. Think of an open house. My best agents run an open house. They have a couple rules. 25 right-hand read signs, 150 cards to everybody in the neighborhood. A neighbor's only open house an hour before. Door knocking afterwards. As soon as it goes out, letting them know about parking and things that are going to be a problem. They've got 4 or 5 touches in before they ever have the open house. Weird, they get 68 people there. It's not by accident. Right. So whatever lead source you have, put a campaign of activity around it that is measurable, trackable. David said something so right early on. Quit paying for stuff that you don't even. If I buy a gym membership and never learn how to do yoga, but I want to be better at stretching, it doesn't work, right? Real estate, same thing. Okay. Whatever lead source you have, you can only pick up to 2 or 3. Put a campaign around it, focus on it, and actually apply and adopt it. Because every lead source works if you work it enough.
Yes.
One thing I look at, again, looking at the mid-sized businesses, smaller brokerages, that one-on-one contact that the leader of the office, manager of the office, owner of the office has to constantly coach and drive and push and collaborate with their associates to do these things and the reminders, it's just absolutely huge. And I think, to me, the local leadership is the greatest advantage our brokerages have over the big brands. And I also think the small boutiques that are out there as well is that constant. We have a history of just one-on-ones with our associates, and we have a whole form that we follow with our associates, and it's really to help them get where they want to go. And I forgot who said it, but you got to understand, what's the why? What's their why? Why are they in this business? What are their goals? Where do they want to get to, right? And how are we going to get them there? So what you just talked about, Steve, and I'm going to throw this to David too, because of your history and your longevity in the industry. I always say success leaves clues. And you just gave, Maricela gave some clues. Steve, you just gave clues. We're going to get into productivity, because the question I get a lot is, man, the productivity, how do I get people to do more? How do I get them to produce and do this? And if success leaves clues, if they just follow the process, and David, you talk about process, it's almost like you're going to win. So why is it so hard to get people to pick up the clues?
Well, I would say this. What I have learned in the real estate space is there's a difference between what I will call a quick fix and a pipeline. Hear me clearly. The conversation with someone who's looking for a quick fix, they will talk to you about a lead buy. I want to do a lead buy. That is a quick fix mentality. The individual that talks to you about pipeline understands systems. And so the trap that we fall into is, because we're so transactionally oriented, 30, 60, 90 days, we find ourselves in these positions repeatedly where we need a quick fix. And so what I would challenge small to mid-size is step back and begin to think pipeline. It forces you into systems, period. And because the only way I'm going to affect my productivity, my cost per closing, it's going to continue to vary wildly. I'm going to continue to overspend on leads if I don't change that fundamental thought. Do I want a quick fix, or do I want to develop a pipeline? And what I would add to that, which Steve and I spent a lot of time on this, you'll hear us say more about this today, is you have a set of data. You've compiled leads over weeks, months, and years. And that data, you've allowed it to erode, you've allowed it to degrade, you didn't enrich it. And now you've got this set of data that could have added value to your business if you took a pipeline approach. But you took a quick fix approach, threw it aside, and it became a waste, right? And so that's what I would challenge you to think about. And Bill, I just don't see enough, and this is what we're trying to do at IntelliAgent, is step back and really think about this from a systematic standpoint. So by education, I'm an industrial engineer. Everything is process. And we don't have enough of that in real estate. And I believe if mid to small size brokers take that approach, the impact will be great, and they'll build a scalable business that will allow them to be as big as they want to be. Okay? But more importantly, not just big, more importantly, it'll help them drive conversion rates that are and productivity well beyond the competition.
I'm going to throw you 4 bullet points, Bill, and this is just the facts. And so I like your permission to be honest rather than gentle. Is that okay?
Please do.
Every agent you have as a broker is leaving you. They're all leaving. It's a matter of time, new career, lifestyle, God forbid, but death, career choice. They're all leaving you. What's the only thing that can make sure your brokerage lasts? There's only one thing, and it fixes everything. What is it, Maricela?
It's recruiting.
Recruiting fixes all problems, because we get this in your heads now. You cannot save people from themselves. Stop hoping that agent gets it. Hope is not a strategy. They're never going to get it. You know what you do? You recruit 10 and 1 or 2 will get it. People fail systems. Systems don't fail people. So I put 10 people in the same system. Happens. I have 9,300 agents consuming our leads. Whenever I get hey, Steve, I've been doing this for 2 months. These leads, what's the term agents use? They don't like a lead. What do they call it? These leads suck. That's the term. That's what they use. These leads suck. Okay, great. I'm going to have you talk to Jason Mitchell, Dan Beer, Kyle Whistle, Cody Gibson, the biggest teams in America who list 5, 10, 15, 30 properties a month with them, because they're at the same gym you are, using the same tools you are, getting trained by the same trainer you have, and they're winning and you're not. And EOS, evidence of success. So when I say that, they go, oh, well, maybe it's me. And I'm like, hey, listen, if you like never coming to anything and getting we gamify everything, so we give them a grade. Your grade is a D. If you like a D, then you're good. It's not my grade, it's your grade. But these guys are at A's and B's. People generally live up or down to the expectation that you set. In our world, we set an expectation. You will show up. You will be taught what to do. You will be able to contact people. We'll tell you what to say and how to say it. After that, if you don't do it, that one is on you. So accountability, transparency, recruit people. Maricela wants someone to learn a certain thing. If she recruits enough people, someone's going to do that. And then she's going to say, that person. I'll tell you what's funny. Right now, for the first time ever in the United States, Bill, we got a bunch of white-collar jobs that are going away. Right. AI is replacing administration. AI is replacing data. AI is replacing people that used to answer phones, customer service. Real estate, you cannot replace the realtor advising a consumer on making a $300,000, $400,000, $600,000, $700,000 decision. These people are getting into real estate, and real estate is a terrible job, and it's the best career in the world. It's a terrible job and a great career. Look at the money we've made on this panel. None of you went to Harvard. None of us went to Stanford. None of us are doctors or lawyers. We make more money than most of those folks in those professions. We don't have a $400,000 student loan problem. So my point is, go recruit talent. That's out there for us. Recruit organic, hungry talent. It sits there for you to do.
I love that you say that, because, one of our first teachings to every broker that we work with is all agents will leave you. Good leadership just slows it down. That's number one. And recruiting cures all ills. And you got to have a system for recruiting. You can't just be a knee-jerk reaction where you lose 5 agents. Oh, well, let's hurry up. We got to go recruit. You got to have a consistent system behind the recruiting of that. And again, being the broker owner of the mid-sized brokerage, that's your lifeblood. If you don't do it, you'll just fade away, because it is absolutely true. We've seen it so many times. And, and a lot of it's coming from an abundant mentality, right? An abundant mindset, not scarcity, because I've seen many brokers lose some agents. They take it really hard, and therefore then they sink back down and they stop recruiting because they don't want to be hurt anymore. But you can't have that. You can't have that. We've seen that all the time. Maricela, you get those sometimes, don't you?
Yes.
But you call me. All of us will pick you up if that ever happens. But so let me ask you.
With that, Maricela said something earlier that I think it's important and it was a very natural thing for her. So it definitely wasn't something rehearsed. It was very natural, where she knew what agent could actually be effective, or agents could be effective in a social media approach. Had the right personality, right? Had the right ability, versus someone who did not, right? She mentioned that. And I think that's a critical, you try to take an agent, and when you recruit them, you try to put them in a common path, versus understanding who they are and where they can be successful, right? Critical.
Yep. So let's continue on growth. So Maricela, this is coming to you. As you were growing, what breaks first for a small brokerage as you continue to grow? Because now you went from starting this up and founding the company to growing it to 2. What's the first thing that a small brokerage will break along the way?
I'd like to say communication. If we didn't have the system set up, and we were just recruiting a lot of agents, and then all of a sudden it was like, oh, I forgot to tell you this person did this, or it was just the communication that broke first. So we had to learn really quickly on what systems we needed to put, and the right people in the right seats. We needed to have like a really strong onboard to begin with. I think our onboard, like day one, when they first come into the office, they spend 3 hours with our onboarding person, just learning all about the Clearview way and how we do it. Because sometimes they'll come here and then the next day they're like, oh yeah, I don't like that. And we need that right now before we start spending all this money and adding them to systems and doing all of these things. And so it was the communication that broke at the beginning, but we feel like we've got that narrowed down. Yeah.
So how did you scale? You scaled up. How did you scale up and keep that culture?
We had to just create different people in the right seats. And really, when you talk about scale and keeping a culture is driven by leadership. And if you're present and you're here, you don't tolerate what does not align with your culture. And so it doesn't matter if I have 500 people at this brokerage. If I'm here and I'm able to have my staff show them how we like stuff done. And I do a lot of training with my staff too. We have a staff of 12. And every time that we're doing a training with them, it's how they're supposed to treat the agent, how they're supposed to serve the agent. There's a way that they need to make the agent feel. And if they're not aligned with that, then they can't work here. And so it starts with them because they're a big, big part of what we do. We also had to get really, really intentional on who is going to help us, because I know that I can't be at 230 conversations if they all needed something at the same time. So we had to get and hire 19 mentors, and we selected them based on who has a servant heart, who's really going to help without like any gain to them. And we selected them carefully, and that has really helped us scale because we have the mentors. They're the ones that are taking on the newbies, that are training them, that are helping teach them the Clearview way. And that really helped the growth tremendously.
I love two things that you said in there. So I'm a big follower of like success, people success. I've been studying Nick Saban. So I don't know if you like football or not, but Nick Saban, the football coach at Alabama, and others too. But and by the way, in the college football championship this past year, the 4 coaches that were in the Final Four all were coaches under Nick Saban, and all of them preach what you just said: setting expectations, following a process. Was David? I think you opened up with process, clarity, and having standards. So Maricela, it sounds like you set those standards to follow, and that's how you're able to scale it. Without standards, I don't think you have it. Steve, I know you're coaching something like this, so throw it out there.
Firstly, I think people have to ask themselves, do they want to scale? I listened to Maricela talk about her brokerage. I hope she never gets bigger than 300 agents, because I want people to be able to walk in her office, talk with her, spend time there, know their children. There is a level. I've watched Jason Mitchell go from 100 people to 1,400 people. And the people that are with them in the beginning aren't with them anymore, very few, because they wanted that small culture. And Jason was adamant about scale. People sometimes decide, I'm going to scale, and not everybody's going to go with me, but they will attract groups that will. So you have to decide first what you want as an owner. I've sold 2 businesses in this space, one to Bill Foley at Philadelphia Financial, one to Gary Keller. This business, my son, who's been with me through the process, my son, he's my best friend, made me sign a document as the CEO saying, if you sell the company, I can quit the next week without repercussion, and I'm not staying because it's not as fun. And I promised them, I will not sell this one. I promise you, I want to build a business now just for that we can enjoy our clients and our people. So first, decide what you want for scale. And Bill, you kind of said it. When you are going to scale, you're going to have a different type of culture. Instead of having live meetings, Maricela might have to create an AI agent called Mary that answers all their questions 24/7 tactically, but Maricela is still the heart. She's still the come see me and we'll talk about it. But the broker day-to-day questions can be answered by bots and things like that. What Bill said about culture, pick it. Because I'll tell you what, Bill, if Leica came to you and said, hey, Bill, we're going public, we're going to add another 500 managers, you'd be like, I'm out. That's not my jam, right? I say the same thing. Decide what you want, right? So, and we need boutiques. We need small and mid-tier brokerages, because all this consolidation that Bill talked about earlier, there's going to be 30 to 40% that are not going to be down with that. They're going to go look for a place that suits them more now in their lives. And you guys are the lifeblood. Real estate will always be about relationships. Stay relational and stay great because we need it.
You know, Jim Weichert, his saying from when he founded the company in 1969 is people buy people before they buy any product or service.
Yeah.
And
Correct.
that's the business we're in, whether you're a small boutique, you're a smaller mid-sized brokerage. Now, here's one thing I want to touch on. And so we talk about scaling and growth, and you can read a lot of articles out there about the big brands all talking about their growth, their recruiting, their scaling. And, you know, I look at it now, I want to throw this out to you. What systems or structure is non-negotiable if you want to grow, scale, and grow profitably? Because many of the big brands really aren't profitable if you read their financial statements. So what's more important, top line growth or profitability? I say profitability. You know, so let's throw that out there. What structure or systems are non-negotiable if you want to grow and grow profitably? David, I'm gonna hit you with that one first.
Yeah, I would say where typically we start systematically is we're taking a look at the transactional process, because that's where the agent lives, right? That whether we like it or not, it's that 30, 60, 90-day component. We look at that in depth, understand what your cost per transaction is, and then how do we improve from a financial perspective and from a process perspective that brings down cost per transaction. Then we take a second step, which is the additional revenue opportunity that sits there. And it is the ability to, do I have an opportunity to gain revenue through mortgage relationship and through title relationship and the additional services? That's not looked at often from the standpoint of a system and a process. It's looked at as a relationship, right? That, you know, do I get tickets to the game? Do I get to go to this event? Versus there's greater opportunity there. So I typically start transactionally and then revenue attachment. That's where we begin. Then go to data, and then last go to top of funnel, right? So it's transactional, data, top of funnel is the approach that we typically take at Intelligent.
Yeah, and I got to tell you that calls to it brings you to the fact of you got to have that focus and attention to detail on these things. And I see that lacking in the world. Like when I call a broker and they don't even have a P&L to analyze, or they don't have their database organized. And that's a lot out there. Maricela, from an operator level, you've scaled. What's most important for an operator today to grow profitably?
You know, you said that like some people don't know their P&L, what like their numbers. I have to be super transparent. That was me like 5 years ago. We had someone doing our accounting, but I didn't even know, like, could I hire another employee? So I didn't even know how much money I was making. And I had a system, but somehow I still just didn't know. We had our QuickBooks, so we had to hire one of our highly paid employees is our CFO. And that has been super, super helpful. Like today, I don't know what I would do without her, because she provides everything and it would be broken without her. I'd just like to say that. But I think strong onboarding is a non-negotiable for us. Good transactional support, as David said, that's huge for us. That's a non-negotiable. The consistent training, we're a huge training brokerage. So we have trainings on Tuesdays and on Thursdays, and that's super, super important. And then just the strong accountability. The agents really need accountability. So that's also a non-negotiable.
Yep.
So
Accountability.
did you build a KPI board against that when you brought in that CFO? Do you guys have specific metrics that you're looking at as well on a date for you as a leader? Did you guys go that path as well?
We have not. Basically, her job is to track everything to make sure that we're not overspending. You know, if I need to see, you know, what lead sources are we making the most money on this month over last month, she can provide so much data that we just didn't have before. I mean, like crazy spreadsheets, like on steroids, that I'm like, oh yeah, we don't need any other systems because she's created them.
Yeah, I think what's really important with our KPIs, David, we break it down into different forms. I believe there's a very simple level. We have a level of tracking a KPI of literally what is your overhead, what is your per person productivity, what is your average, and really basic stuff. But believe it or not, I'm making up a number, but probably 80% of the brokers I meet with don't know those numbers. Like, how many transactions do I need on a daily basis to cover my monthly nut? They're like, what do I need to do?
Yeah, it's funny you say that, Bill. I think about Steve and I for a moment. We grew up, like, our first entree when we sold our business together to Fidelity. The one thing that we learned day one, if you walked into a room and they asked you, how many full-time employees do you have, and you did not know the answer, you were not working there the next moment. So, yeah.
They're about, maybe, around. Those don't work.
Anytime you use big
know your number.
words, when you're big words, you're in trouble. I'll say this. The number one, our firm, the revenue firm, our number one focus with 9,000 agents today, and the most profitable thing we've done, and it's been recent, the last 12 to 18 months, is ancillary business. We make every team, brokerage, an entity fill out an ABA form, an ancillary business assessment form. And then based on their influence, we show them what they make in title, mortgage, insurance, depending where they are in the country, solar, technology. It's well over $1 million for teams that are transacting at, 300-400 million net. Our clients don't hire a person. Our clients don't pay a fee. It's purely their influence to transact and attach that allows them to generate compliant, RESPA approved profit for their influence. So if you're not in the ancillary business influence game, you're leaving tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars on the table based on your ability to influence. Now, if you have no influence, if you're like, oh, we let the agents choose and we love everybody comes in our office, well, that's your choice. But if you want to actually make profit, our biggest entity's most profitable piece, always per hour, is their ancillary business.
Yeah, and beyond the immediate profit, you got the long-term lifespan of that client, of those connected services. I mean, it's absolutely phenomenal, right? All right, we're going to start wrapping this up. I want to do something rapid fire. So these are quick answers. Here's where we're going to hit. I've got quick answers from each of you right now. One thing a smaller mid-sized brokerage should stop doing immediately. Steve.
Trying new things. Find something that already works with somebody else using it.
Gotcha. Maricela.
I'd say stop trying to be like any other brokerage, or stop trying to be like anyone else. Be who God made you to be, and just trust to be true to yourself.
Awesome. David.
Avoid the shiny object syndrome.
I'm with you on that. There's too many out there, right? All right. One thing they should start doing right now. Maricela.
I'd say they should start caring more about their agents, start paying attention, start giving more support. I tell my agents, this is going to sound crazy, but I tell them that I love them, and they know that I truly mean it. Even the ones that leave my brokerage, they leave knowing that I love and care about them.
Yeah, I like to say associates spell love, T-I-M-E, time, right? So David.
Measuring conversations, not just leads.
Perfect. Steve.
Make sure your best producers are consuming the most important programs in your brokerage, whether that be leads, tech, etc. Make your best people be your largest consumers.
Awesome. And what is the biggest myth about competing with the larger brands out there? What's the largest myth, biggest myth? David.
That you have to have every widget they have to add value to the agent.
Awesome. Maricela.
That bigger is better. You don't have to have a big brand behind your name. You just have to show your clients how you're going to help them, and that's all that they really care about.
Steve?
I have a saying, the larger the entity and brokerage, the lower the IQ. So you want to be that small to mid, you're smart, you can make quick decisions, you can make common sense. These other ones have to have 13 Zooms, 12 conference calls. We should have 5 more meetings to decide to do something that would be very basic at your level. So small to mid tier, You guys got high IQs. Move quickly.
I had a leader one time tell me, I'd rather have you make 10 decisions in a day and get 6 of them right than 3 decisions in a day and get 1 right, you know? So, all right, one word to describe the biggest opportunity right now. You can use a couple words if you have to. David.
First-time home buyers.
All right, Maricela.
Progress. The only way agents and people feel fulfilled is if they're making progress.
Steve.
Trust sellers. It's the niche of the market and growing every day.
Awesome. Awesome. Hey, you guys have been great on this panel. David, I want to throw it to you as a sponsor to kind of wrap this thing up for us.
Yeah, so first of all, thank all of you guys for participating. This has been, we could probably go 3-4 hours. It's been wonderful, and I'm appreciative. And what I want you to understand about IntelliAgent is in order for your business to achieve profitability and scalability, you need someone that can help you see the systems and processes that work and those that don't work. And how can you have a partner that steps in and doesn't deliver you features and functionality of technology, but how can you have a partner that's going to move you through the process from lead to loan, but most importantly, put you in a position to where you can achieve profitability. And it's not just something, it's not just saying, it's a reality, right? And we are doing this, we have done this, and we've got some significant individuals that you can speak to that have inserted systems, process, leveraging technology, but they've moved to a profitable position. And that's what we're about, right? I don't want to sell you, as I mentioned earlier, another shiny object. I want to help you grow your business and improve your profitability, and that's the heart of IntelliAgent.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, listen, I want to leave everyone with this on this topic. I think, where we're going in the industry is, you had certain people out there, I've heard at different things saying the consolidation, there'll only be 2 companies or 5 companies. I think that's a bunch of BS. I think if you own your local market and you are the best and you deliver for the consumer and, you really treat them like one of your own, building that relationship, as we all talked about the relationship, you can't lose. And I think, we had a lot of different stories. Like, you're right, we could have talked about more and more things, but success leaves clues. You got to pick them up and do them. But small and mid-sized brokerages don't always win by trying to constantly get bigger. Profitability is huge. And I know companies who are doing a couple million in gross commission income and are making the profitability that they want to make and living the life they want to live. And I know others who are doing 20 million and 30 million in gross commission income and making the life they want to live. It's really what you want to get out of it. I think we win by being local. I think we win by being better, faster, more focused, more connected to our communities. I think the opportunity is there, but you got to have clarity and discipline to go after it. And you got to have the passion. And I know everyone on this webinar showed a lot of passion, and I love it. You got to have passion. You got to have energy. You got to have enthusiasm to make it. But I appreciate everyone being here today. I hope everyone gets a lot out of this. But I think it's going up from here. Suit up, show up every day, and do your job, right? That's what we need to do. So thanks, everyone. Appreciate you all being on the webinar today, and let's have a great rest of the year.
Thank you, Bill.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Steve.